All those influencers that you think live a life of luxury with the dream life that you want, yeah, they're fucking broke.
Controversial opinion, but I think that most influencers are going to end up going broke, and I'm going to explain to you why I know this.
I've noticed that there's a huge influx of broke-ass influencers on TikTok that are begging for money.
I think all these influencers are lying about being rich. I've almost had 1 million followers, broke.
How the hell do you go from making $350,000 a month as an influencer to now where you're on this app crying that you cannot afford your $25,000 a month mortgage?
For the longest time, being an influencer was seen as the dream. Post content, go viral, get paid, and live your life. And on the surface, it still looks like that.
I made $50,000 in the month of March off of content.
Last year, I made over $100,000 from content creation.
Here's how I made over $100,000 post-tax with TikTok as a college student last year.
But I've been paying attention, and I'm starting to see a different side of it. Because behind all the highlights, I think a lot of creators are struggling more than people realize. The money isn't as consistent, the opportunities aren't as guaranteed, and for some people, it's starting to catch up to them.
There's nothing up here. I'm up here now with everybody else, and I'm telling you that there is nothing up here.
And I'm not saying this to hit on content creators because I'm in this space too, but I just think there's a different reality here that people need to understand if they're trying to get into this. So in this video, I want to break down what's actually going on, why some influencers are going broke, and what separates the ones who last from the ones who don't. Let's talk about it.
So I went from having a fat ass house, I had to downsize to an apartment because I had to make that YouTube money stretch. This is when I was like shitting on 9 to 5s. I told myself I would never get a 9 to 5 because I was making so much bread on YouTube. I'm like, hell nah, 9 to 5 not for me. Like, I'm not working no job. Hell nah, I just graduated high school. I'm not going to college. I don't need college. I'm making 15 to 20K a month. Let's really get into it. Cause y'all know the internet is talking. The internet is talking. So yes, I went broke for maybe a year and a half. Because that happened to me. So here I am. I ain't went to college. I wasn't working a job. I'm depending on 2K a month off YouTube because that was the only bread I had after they snatched my money away. So, do y'all see how that can like really fuck up somebody's life? Like, they took the money away. So literally, my revenue on YouTube went from 15K to 2K, bruh. Yes, because I was using the intro. So, right? So around this time, YouTube demonetized my videos. That's when my life came at a stop. Like, I was dependent on YouTube money. That was like my main go-to. So when YouTube snatched my money for using that sample instrumental, even though my voice was on it, even though I low-key mixed up the beat, they still snatched my money.
The reality of being a content creator with over 200,000 followers is I'm broke. I go viral literally every single week. Every week. I got like over 8 million views this past month. I have like loyal fans, you know? But I'm just like, yo, I had $101 in my bank account yesterday. Last month, the Creator Fund paid me like $70 because I make a lot of short form videos that aren't over 1 minute long. And I'm going to keep saying this, like, people are not paying Black creators. I have fucking verified companies and businesses commenting on my videos trying to be relatable and shit. And it's just like, you guys won't fucking pay me. Like, it gets to a point, I'm getting like really frustrated because this has been my career for a while. Like, I used to make a lot more money on social media. And I feel like as my platform grows bigger and bigger, people get this idea that like, you must be doing very, very well, like even better than before. And I'm just like, dude, what? Anyway, if you want to literally send me money, because I'm just like, this is so dumb.
I think all these influencers are lying about being rich. I've almost had 1 million followers, broke. Broke as fuck. Well, not broke, but like I go to my regular minimum wage job every single day, 5 days a week, clock in. That's how I pay all of my bills. Is that my thing? I did my taxes and I only got 3 brand deals this year, each for $2,000, which works out to like $500 extra a month. Amazing, gorgeous. I can never be happier. But I'm just saying $500 a month is not livable, you know, like, but I am super grateful for it. But I'm saying that's all that I got. Like, you could see, you know? And I think just these influencers are lying to you. I think because they're either trying to sell you a course or tell you how great their life is after, you know, you've insulted them. But there's nothing up here. I'm up here now with everybody else. And I'm telling you that there is nothing up here.
I think a lot of influencers are starting to realize something that doesn't really get talked about enough. And it's the fact that this whole content creator lifestyle isn't as stable or as profitable as it looks on the outside. Because when you're scrolling, everything looks lit. Brand deals, trips, free products, people going viral. It gives off this image that everybody is making real money. But I've been noticing behind the scenes, a lot of creators are struggling to actually turn that attention into consistent income. And I think the biggest issue is that people confuse views with money. Just because a video gets 100K, 500K, even a million views, doesn't mean that translates into something you can live off of, especially on platforms where the payouts are low or inconsistent. You might have a good month, then the next month it drops off completely. That's not stable. That's not something you can build a life on unless you really understand how to monetize properly. And then you add in the fact that brand deals aren't as guaranteed. I think a lot of smaller or even mid-level influencers thought once they built an audience, the money would just follow automatically. But companies are getting more selective now. Budgets are getting tighter, and we've seen from the previous video that a lot of people are getting demonetized. And if you're not converting or bringing real value, you're simply not getting paid like that.
How the hell do you go from making $350,000 a month as an influencer to now where you're on this app crying that you cannot afford your $25,000 a month mortgage? Like, sell your house. That's the first thing most people are thinking when they hear that you're struggling to pay a $25,000 per month mortgage. And also, you're telling me while you were making $350,000 a month, you didn't think that it would have been a good idea to save any of your money? I have no ounce of sympathy for you whatsoever, because again, there's no way you were making $350,000 and you didn't save nor did you invest any of that money for a rainy day. That was stupid. Being a full-time influencer is not a stable job. You can be the it person right now, and 6 months from now, no one cares about you or your content. $350K a month and you're now broke? Yeah, nah, that's on you. You stupid. You could have took 2 months' salary and just bought a house cash, and you would not be in that situation right now where you're worried about paying a mortgage for $25,000 a month because the money's drying up.
Okay, so I don't know about y'all, but I've noticed that there's a huge influx of broke-ass influencers on TikTok that are begging for money, and some of them even being involved in scams. Yesterday, I saw this TikToker who had almost 1 million subscribers or followers, and she was involved in a GoFundMe scam, and the GoFundMe got shut down. And it's just like, the problem with so many of these TikTokers is that, or any influencer, is that they're living above their means. And something that my grandma taught me as a kid that I'll never forget is she said, if you cannot buy something with cash in hand right now, then you cannot afford it. Or if the money isn't in your checking account right now, the full amount, you can't afford it. And it's like, I've seen so many scandals over the years of influencers, from YouTube or any, community that have gone broke because they start to live above their means. And you should never live above your means in life if you don't want to set yourself up for failure. Like, let's say an influencer makes $40,000 in, their first big payout month, right? And it starts to become consistent. Okay, great. But then they decide they want to go rent or lease an LA mansion for $15,000 a month, right? And just because they were making $40,000 a month consistently for a while, it doesn't mean that money is going to stay. Because life works in ebb and flows. Life works in patterns. It has ups and downs, ups and downs, and ups and downs. So learn firsthand from these influencers. Definitely do not live above your means. Have a goal in life, a goal you want to meet of the life you want to live, and then take actionable and reasonable steps to get there. It's like I said with the house example, a lot of these influencers, right, the money comes in, but they're taking too large of a leap. Like my grandma said, if you cannot buy it in cash, in full, you cannot afford it.
I think another part of this that people are starting to notice and honestly getting frustrated with is how some influencers are handling the money problem. Because instead of adjusting, I've been seeing more and more creators straight up asking their audience for money. And I get it, if this is your full-time thing and the income slows down, you're gonna feel that pressure. But I think the way it's being done is what's turning people off. Especially on TikTok, I've noticed a lot of creators going live and it starts to feel less like content and more like begging. Constant reminders to send gifts, cash apps in the bio, emotional stories tied to donations. And I think for the audience, it creates this weird disconnect disconnect because people followed you for entertainment or value, not to feel like they're responsible or funding your lifestyle. And I don't even say that to be harsh. I just think it's a bad look long term, because once your audience starts to feel like they're being asked instead of entertained, the relationship changes. It stops feeling organic, and I kind of understand why people are pushing back on it. There's this growing opinion that content creation is becoming less about creating and more about asking. And when people see that, it makes the space look less credible. So now, even the creators who are actually putting in effort to get paid are getting grouped into that same category. All right, so here's the content creator income statistics in 2026, earnings by platform, niche, and experience level. The average content creator makes $44,000 per year. That's $22 an hour, around $4,000 a month in the United States. However, this average makes enormous variation. The salary range spans from $36K to $59K for typical creators, with top earners generating up to $75K annually. These figures exclude the elite earners making millions, focusing instead on the working creator majority. That is actually pretty sustainable. Yes, it's average and it might not be as rewarding, but at least it's sustainable enough to live off of. I know in the last video with TikTok, most creators are making around, what was it, 15K annually? That is not realistic at all. Here, it looks like a normal job. Despite the creator economy's explosive growth, only about 4% of global creators pull in more than 100K per year, the threshold typically considered professional income. This stark concentration reveals that while the creator economy is a massive aggregate, individual success remains elusive for 96% of participants. The path to six-figure creator income requires either massive scale, premium niches, or multiple revenue streams. You gotta diversify your income, your niches, whatever you like or whatever you're passionate about, you need to diversify. Income distribution in the creator economy follows a power law. 50% of creators earn up to $5,000 annually, often less than minimum wage when accounting for hours invested. 17% make between $30K and $100K, and just 7% earn over $100K. This distribution demonstrates that the creator economy, despite its growth, remains winner take most rather than democratically lucrative. In my opinion, this is a good thing, because if there is a higher percentage of creators making the same amount of income, eventually these platforms would shut down. So the fact that it's only 7% tells us that it's not common. It's not easy to make a living off of content creation. The path to monetization is slow. Content creators require an average of 6.5 months to earn their first dollar, more than 10 months to become self-supporting, and 24 months or more to secure their first brand partnership. This extended ramp-up period means most creators must sustain themselves through other income sources while building their audience and credibility. I mean, yeah, it takes time. It's not overnight. I've seen creators get monetized in a month or even a week, but it doesn't mean they weren't strategic in the way they got monetized. With anything else that makes money, it takes time.
The influencers from a decade ago that are broke now were living paycheck to paycheck. As soon as that money came in, it went straight to vanity purchases and bills. There was also this trend where as soon as the views went up, they ran straight to LA, New York, or whatever expensive city they could find. And with that change, they got bigger bills and also new content. That new content may have not been received well, and they got less views, and the money went down also.
A lot of these celebrities and influencers may seem like they have a lot of money, but they don't. They live check to check just like everybody else. Some of them, not all of them, but a lot of the ones that portray these lifestyles, like they always going on vacation and they always buying, certain, luxury brands, stuff like that. They don't have it like they portray that they have it online. 99% of these people are using y'all as the method. When y'all buy stuff from them, they use those funds to then go purchase the stuff that they told y'all that they have on hand. And then that's when they ship them out to y'all weeks and weeks later. And a lot of these gurus that be selling these courses, no matter what kind of course it is, all they do is just copy and paste from somebody else. They buy it from somebody else for, $500 to $1,000. And then they just memorize it and regurgitate it to y'all like they've been knowing it for XYZ amount of years. A lot of these people are staying in influencer and celebrity homes, which means that there are probably 10 of them in a 4-bedroom house. And a lot of people who have these exotic cars are pooling their money together and sharing these cars. So it's a different person driving that car every day of the week. So please stop feeling like you're behind for your age, because a lot of people are faking their lifestyles.
All those influencers that you think live a life of luxury with the dream life that you want, yeah, they're fucking broke. It's an illusion. I get so many influencers in my DMs with hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of followers, and they cannot make ends meet. Like, they cannot get by. Or they're working full-time jobs and they're asking my advice on how to make money. They should be fucking rolling in it, but they're not, because they don't know how to monetize. They don't know how to create a product. And even if they did, they don't know how to get their audience to care enough to buy it. I made $50 million using my face, using my story, using my personal brand with a fraction of their follower count, because how many followers you have doesn't mean anything. Like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It means absolutely nothing. That is not a personal brand. Your personal brand is what you are known for. It is the thing everyone associates you with. It is what they think about when they hear your name, the thing that you're an expert in, your category. You have to own that category. Whatever it is, that is the first thing. It is non-negotiable. The second non-negotiable is you have to link your story, your personal struggles, your personal achievements, how you solve this problem for yourself. You link that to them and the outcome they want. If you got this result, they can do it too. They listen to your story, they relate to you, they want the same outcome as you, they'll buy your product. Which takes me to the last and the most important non-negotiable. You have to have something to sell. You don't want to be relying on brand deals or sponsorships or UGC where you get paid a pathetic commission to promote something once and then bye-bye. You want something that pays you whilst you're sleeping, something that you own. And with AI, it's so easy now to create a product. Like, you don't even need to be original. Like a boring, everyday product. It doesn't matter because people will buy it because it is yours and because they trust you and they relate to you and they like you.
This is probably one of the biggest reasons why a lot of influencers end up going broke. And it's the fact they just don't know how to monetize. Like, they know how to get the attention. They know how to go viral. They know how to build an audience. But when it comes to actually turning that into money, that's when everything falls apart. A lot of creators are relying on the platform to pay them instead of building something on their own. And that's a really dangerous position to be in. If your entire income is coming from views, ad revenue, or occasional brand deals, you don't really have control. You're just reacting to whatever the algorithm gives you that month or week. I think the real skill isn't going viral, it's being able to sell, whether that's a product, a service, a course, a community, something. Because at the end of the day, attention by itself doesn't pay the bills unless you really know how to convert it. All right, let's read some comments. They already got your likeness, your topics, your speaking patterns, your dress code, your home interior. Why do they still need you? Eventually, they will flood themselves with AI creators that will do what you did. And this is what scares me the most. A lot of people aren't talking about this enough, but literally today, I was on my For You page on Instagram and I'm seeing like these AI podcast creators, and they're mainly Black women for some reason. I just assume Black women look better on camera, but it's very concerning because they're using AI creators to replicate real people. So I'm curious if this might be a concerning issue in the future for creators like me who might run into AI creators replicating my content and not getting some sort of credibility for it. But not only that, once they do make these AI replicas, will they shut down the original creators and just focus on mining the ad revenue that comes with it? Now that I'm really thinking about it, it is happening now. And it is getting pretty wicked. I might have to make a video on this because that is very concerning. Thanks for bringing this up. Let me hold your hands when I say this. If it's free, you're the product. Them paying you was just a marketing expense. Yeah, we are the product, and depending on how creators perform, they'll eventually want to do brand deals with them to push out their own platforms, but I don't see an issue with that. Creators aren't making what they were making in the 2010s. The influencer days are over. Yes, there were less creators, and yes, people were making more money back in 2010, but I don't think that means the influencer days are over. If anything, I think just being an influencer doesn't really mean much. You actually have to bring more value instead of just getting lucky. Most TikTokers don't deserve money for their content. I don't know how many times I've seen videos of a guy commenting on a video. Limited skill and creativity, and they want to get paid. I know, right? Tell me about it, Timothy4772. Those guys are straight up losers. People that are commenting on a video like I'm doing now. Yeah, let me just move on. The thing is that so many people don't want to get out and work anymore because they'd rather stay at home and be content creators. Our society can't continue to function that way. I think that's the issue. I agree to this comment to some point, but I have to be honest with you guys. You know, after reading so many of these comments similar to this one, you guys have to remember, society is built off of passion projects people were once passionate about. Businesses, corporations, people that you work for. Once upon a time, someone had a dream to build that, and now they have a business. Now they have employees. Now they have people to run that business. So I always make this correlation between the two, and I'm more than welcome to debate this topic. What's the difference between someone who's trying to leverage their content to eventually create a business and have people work for them? Yes, it's not technically something society needs. We need more doctors, lawyers, but at the end of the day, I truly think as humans, we're meant to create and innovate. Are you going to live your life off of someone else's passion projects or someone else's dream? Or are you going to work on building your own? That's what I think it really comes down to. I have no problem saying this because I love this. I love creating content and I see it as leverage to eventually start my own type of business. The job market is simply crazy now. I mean, we've seen video after video, some videos I have on this channel, that more people are getting laid off in the corporate world, and then they have nowhere to run off to because they didn't spend time to build their own leverage. Bro, your voice is dope. Big ups. My people never fail to give me more confidence. Fun fact, I used to be very insecure about my voice. In my last video, I literally sped up my voice, which is why I sound more fast-paced in the TikTok one. I'm getting more confidence as I'm becoming more accustomed to just use my voice without having to speed it up. But I really appreciate you. People don't understand nothing lasts forever, especially when you're getting free money. But is it really free though? Depends on what type of content you're making, I guess, because if you're putting hours into something that requires physical labor, it's not necessarily free unless the effort was very lazy. Social media companies are starting to realize that even millions of views don't equate to traffic, ad revenue, etc. All the views are not getting these companies sales, so the money is drying up. A lot of people use other people's content to get paid and never even mention the original content creator's information, which is stealing in my personal opinion. All of the apps should follow suit because creators using other people's content isn't being original. A lot of people are starting to make content like this where they just have compilations and they react to said compilations, but I do think it's necessary to credit the creators that you're stealing content from. Otherwise, it is stealing and you're getting paid without giving some sort of credit to the original person that you found, which is why in all these videos, you guys see that I tag the TikTok creators. And I don't know, it's just how I was raised, I guess. If you're at the same table as me and I'm the only one eating, I'm gonna give you a plate because everybody has to eat.
Did y'all see that video of that girl asking how all the OG influencers were making $30,000 to $50,000 a month and now they're broke and e-begging on TikTok? Like, what happened to all that money? So as somebody who accumulated over 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube back in 2015, and I was literally living in LA, so I witnessed a lot of this, I'm gonna give you guys the breakdown on what happened with that money. I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but just what I've seen. When I moved out there, I thought I was pushing it with my $2,000 one-bedroom apartment, but I had people living in the same building, just at the top floor. I was on the third floor, but they were at the top floor paying $20,000 a month. And then I had some friends that lived in mansions just for the sole purpose of wanting to be able to throw parties and have people come over and make content in there. Literally paying people's yearly salaries, like $30,000, $40,000 a month just to rent this huge house. So for those of you that were also wondering, like, why do a lot of these influencers have big houses, but they're fucking empty? Not even joking, to get some good quality furniture in there, it's gonna cost you like $500,000. And don't even get me started on their Uber ego. It's like people reach a certain amount of followers and all of a sudden they can't use Uber X. Ew, we can't pull up to this party in a Prius. Order an Uber Black. Why would we spend $250 to pull up to a party when we could spend $19.99? Half the cars that you see these people whipping around are rentals, and they're spending like $300, $500 a day just to whip it around and try to act like they're somebody they're not. Babe, just because you hit 200K doesn't mean you need to go and get a C300 from Mercedes. Like, it's okay. You can drive your paid off Toyota. Maybe 1 out of 10 of my friends actually cooked their meals at home. Everybody was constantly going out to eat or hiring private chefs. When you start making all this money, a lot of people tend to forget that it might stop one day. So they're still going on these expensive vacations, buying all this designer, even if it's starting to dwindle, because they literally got used to that lifestyle. Girl, when I tell you, the second I had enough money to buy a property, I bought one. I could only tell so many story times and do so many get ready with me's before people fucking lose interest, okay? I had to be realistic about it. But I could see how most 21-year-olds are not thinking about that. More or less, a lot of these people ran through their money trying to look cool. That's it. And now they're begging for galaxies and cowboy hats.
To the influencers who's going broke, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. Chase the craft, not the cash. This proves my point, what I've been saying for the past couple years. Don't get caught up in the numbers. 'Cause I'm gonna tell you right now, some of these creators and some of these influencers be thinking they're A1 celebrities, which is fucking true. But in reality, it's okay if you want to go, I guess, get you a degree. If you want to go start you a business on the side. If you have to go back to a 9 to 5, it's cool. Just let this be a lesson learned to everybody that's trying to come up right now. Always remain a student of the game. Don't get caught up in these numbers. Don't get caught up in this, that, the third. I'm telling you, it's a lot of creators who are going like broke or who are going here, this, that, third. It's okay. I'm not even trying to judge them, but it's more of like, it matters that you have a team. A team of individuals who know what the next step is to where you're trying to go. Because I see a lot of creators who was popping back in 22, 23, 24, who's not popping like that. I'm telling y'all, just pay attention to detail, yo. Build you a team of people who creative minds, chase the craft, not the cash. Real shit.
Most influencers fall off and go broke. Even though most people want to be influencers, this is a simple fact about it. I'll tell you why. So I knew this kid back in high school. If you watch my old video on high school, you know why I smiled there. But anyway, this kid had it all. Well, not really, but he was really good looking. And he blew up on TikTok, and you've all definitely seen this kid. He's from my town, so I knew him pretty well, and he went to LA, moved to LA. Bro's getting the views, bro's getting the brand deals. He was making stupid, retarded money, bro. But the lifestyle kind of got him, bro, because he figured, you know, the views are forever, my followers are forever. So he just kept buying more and more stuff. He was renting like a really expensive house out there, trying to impress girls, yada yada, the whole nine. But then something happened. The views dried up. And so when you're on social media, you have a shelf life. This happens to every creator. Views dry up. So what you do before that happens is you build a little infrastructure for yourself so you can financially sustain when you like fall off, so you can adapt and reinvent yourself. So that's why I have Retaliation Project, the best clothing brand in the game. So I don't need to get 400 million views on YouTube. I still have a way of making money. But anyway, point is, he did not do that. He just spunked his money, and so that put a lot of pressure on him. So then he had to go back to Canada, work a job, and when he was working a job, he couldn't post videos anymore. So he ended up losing like his whole platform pretty much. He doesn't post anymore. And before you come at me, he said I could post this because he just doesn't care. A lot of y'all want to do social media, but you need a plan to be the man or the woman.
Having a backup plan really separates people, because this space is just too unpredictable to rely on one thing. And I've learned that myself. That's the whole reason I've been building across multiple platforms and focusing on monetizing different niches, because I don't want to be in the position where if one thing slows down, everything slows down. And I think for a lot of creators, they don't think like that. They just put everything into one lane, one platform, one audience, and it works until it doesn't. When it stops, they don't have anything else to pivot to. And for me, I've already seen how this plays out. Day trading content, for example, didn't really work out in the way I expected it to at first, but instead of forcing it, I shifted into something that was actually working, something that makes sense financially. And the plan isn't to abandon it forever. I'll come back to it once I understand how to monetize my skills better and once I know how to actually make it work. But in the meantime, I think it's smarter to focus on what's actually bringing in income so you can stay in the game. Because if you don't adapt, you get stuck. And a lot of creators are now learning that the hard way.
Controversial opinion, but I think that most influencers are going to end up going broke, and I'm going to explain to you why I know this. I'm saying most, not all. Just keep that in mind. It's pretty comparable to being an athlete, a famous athlete. Just keep that in mind while I'm speaking, because we have real stats from athletes. We don't have as many stats from influencers. I went to an event 7 years ago, and this lives just rent-free in my mind. It was hosted by a popular Instagrammer called The Fat Jewish, and if you don't know who that is, then I think it just kind of further proves the point. And at this event, he explained that what happens to famous people is one of two things. Either your platform is fleeting, so think like eventually in sports, like you retire or you might get an injury, but like think of for influencers like Vine, that what happened to Vine, or TikTok potentially getting banned in the US. The other thing is that you might be fleeting. Hey, you might get canceled. You might not want to do this forever. You might retire. Like you might not want to make YouTube videos for the next 30 years. So one of those two things can happen to you or will happen to you, which brings me into my second point. How many influencers do you know or athletes do you know that have really stayed relevant long term? It's a very small proportion of them, right? If you think of someone like in athletics that's still famous, they're probably doing something to keep themselves relevant. Like if we think of Shaq went and did like 1 billion different things to stay relevant. But that's not every athlete that you can think of. That's not every person that's ever been on a sports team. It's a very small number. And that's why I say I think most influencers will go broke. It ties into my third point. What did Shaq do differently that kept him relevant versus any other athlete? And how you as an influencer can do something different. The Fat Jewish at this event spoke about how it was so important to build other streams of income because he knew he wouldn't stay relevant forever, whether it was because of the platform shutting down or him just not wanting to do it. He built all these different income streams, which is something that Shaq did as well. Shaq owns like a bunch of restaurants and does all kinds of different things to keep that income coming. When you get a lot of money coming towards you, whether it's working your 9 to 5, whether it's being a famous athlete or an influencer, it's very common that something occurs called lifestyle creep. That's where you start getting the G classes, the mansions, you upgrade your car, you upgrade your apartment, you upgrade your wardrobe, you upgrade all these different things. No matter what the scale is, you're upgrading. But when you upgrade like that, you're setting a certain standard for yourself, which means that you're either change your desk to continue working your 9 to 5, or that like 67%, I think it is, of NBA players that retire within 2 years go broke because you weren't managing your money well along the way. You were expecting these certain calibers of lifestyle, but you weren't investing money to make sure that that stayed with you long term. And that's why if I was an athlete or if I was an influencer, if I was any of these things, I'd be making sure to have like a panel of people helping me manage my money if I didn't know what I was doing, and be investing like over 80% of my income, because I know in my head that this is fleeting. That's why I think most people will end up going broke, because they're not doing that.
When the money starts coming in fast, people start spending fast. Lifestyle upgrades, clothes, trips, cars, things that look good, but don't actually build anything long term. And I think the real problem is that a lot of the money isn't being reinvested into anything that compounds. It's not going into assets, it's not going into businesses, it's not even going back into their content at a higher level. Sometimes it's just being spent. So when the income slows down, there's nothing there to support them. No system, no investments, no backup income streams, just expenses. And I've been noticing that the creators who actually last in this space are the ones who treat their income differently. They're thinking long term. They're asking, how do I turn this into something that keeps paying me even if I stop posting? Because like I stated before, content creation income can be very unpredictable. So if you're not actively turning that money into something stable, you're always going to be in a risky position.
You can tell when an influencer's money ain't hitting the way it used to, or the checks is not rolling in. I'm not saying that they're broke, but the input is, getting very close to the output. Okay, they need some money quick. Because do y'all remember the OG YouTuber Nicole Guerrero? She was a beauty guru, over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. All her videos did numbers. Like, she had collabs with, the high-end makeup brands that would sell out. Everybody loved this makeup guru, right? I started to turn a little side eye at her because she's a beauty guru and she did a collaboration with the Army. I didn't even know that armies collaborated with influencers, let alone a beauty influencer, somebody who sits and does makeup, right? But yeah, she did a collaboration with the Army, to encourage people to join the Army. Very weird and not on brand, very off brand for her. But, when the money is funny and the change is strange, you do crazy stuff. I feel like a lot of OG, content creators, influencers, they've fallen off because they refuse to, adapt with all the new social medias coming out. They just think that their name will carry them forever, and it just doesn't. And so now she's come out with a, her own line, her own company, where she's selling a single candle for $60. Now you're competing with brands like Bath and Body Works. You have no other products, just the one candle for $60. Okay, you're not consistent. Like, you used to post hella vlogs. You're not even consistent on social media anymore. Your name doesn't carry anymore. You're going to sell a $60 freaking candle and collaborate with the U.S. Army. Like, in this economy, like everything that's going on in the economy, I just swear sometimes influencers can be so freaking out of touch with reality.
Too many people call themselves influencers on this title themselves influencers on this app. Meanwhile, you have no art of persuasion in your soul. To be of an influence is to be persuasive. You know how to persuade people in some way, shape, or form. Whether it be products, whether it be fashion, whether it be lifestyle, whether it be thought. And I'm afraid a lot of y'all don't have that ordeal.
I get on here complaining that how y'all have to go back working a 9 to 5 because you started balling and spending money like your ass is Dwayne Wade or some shit. Y'all start getting paid from these social medias, and then it's like everything just goes out the window and you just start feeling like you above everything as far as finances. Why, if you starting to get a $4,000 check, you think, oh, let me go get me a high rise in an expensive ass city that you probably paying close to that $4,000 check that you're getting or more, trying to keep up with the Joneses. I really don't understand that. Help me understand that. This girl just got on here talking about how she was making $60,000 from TikTok. I think that's a lot of damn money for each month. How do you blow that much money? And now you're talking about now you got to go back working a 9 to 5. Are y'all just dumb? Are y'all dumb? How hard is it to stay down until you can stack up some extra money? Like, and nobody's saying not to go, get you a new car, say if you don't got no car. or go get you a used car because your car that you got is not properly working. Nobody's saying not to do those things or to go and put yourself in a better living situation. But it's like y'all get this extra little bit of money and y'all think y'all just overly rich now. Like, and then when shit starts slowing down, y'all looking like, who the fuck done did it? You did it. You did it. I say all that to say, y'all get on here and be fumbling hella bags. Hella bags. And it be pissing me off because certain opportunities was given to the right people. Motherfuckers ain't fumbling that. They not. But y'all, especially in this economy, I don't know what the hell y'all be thinking.
What a good compilation. Okay, so at the end of the day, I think this whole situation comes down to one thing: whether you treat this like a moment or a business. Because if you're just chasing views, chasing trends, and spinning as fast as you're making it, eventually it's gonna catch up. But if you're thinking long-term, building systems, learning how to monetize, and actually managing your money properly, you give yourself a chance to stay in the game. And I think that's what we're starting to see now, the difference between people who got attention and people who actually built something with it. But I'm curious in what you guys think. Do you think influencers are actually going broke? Or is this just part of another cycle?